Everybody got it? Do not lose your piece of paper. I'm ready to move on. I'm like whipping through this. Are there any questions about that before we move on?
You left out some of your slides.
Oh, I can finish them. Where did I leave out? Show us the
Assignment?
Show us the, oh, the assignment slide. Well, I explained the assignment.
I know.
If all writers had to begin from the beginning, they would be hard-pressed to reach the level necessary to do useful work. James Blick, Chaos. And in it, he's probably really saying that there really is nothing new to be written. We just take the writing and we can form it, use the words in different ways. In other words, we can maybe make an artful arrangement of the information. And I like to call this found writing. It is the interesting words, phrases, and sentences from a single source woven together to create a poem. The only rule is that you cannot make up any words. They must all be from your source. And you should remember to document where each piece of found text came from. Somebody, Ann Dillard, the person that wrote about the weasel, she also wrote a book called Mornings Like This, Found Poems, in which she took old textbooks, how-to guides, she took bits and pieces, and she wrote poems about them. This is from a science textbook where she says, break apart stones to see if they contain fossils, break apart a lump of coal, find the Milky Way. And I've given you, in your handouts, something from Ann Dillard, in which she took something called Nicholson's Peerless Watercolor Instructions from 1991, and she calls it Learning to Fear Watercolor, and it's a found poem about watercolor. And then also, she did something from The Mysterious Senses of Animals, and she calls it, I think, Continually of Those Who Went Truly Ape. And I happen to be able to find this book in our library, and she uses bits and pieces from just everywhere, and she makes a clever little poem from it. I find this quite addictive. I took John Shaw's Close-Ups in Nature, and I wrote magnification rates, exposure, metering, one hand, one stop, tripods and heads, filters and films. Each joint is a potential weak link, paralleling the subject, controlling natural light, composition. It's as simple as that. All of these were just headings in John Shaw's book. So how do you do this? How do you go about it? Well, first, you need to find a source. And that can be anything, the newspaper, a boring lecture, a book.
What about an interesting lecture?
Even an interesting lecture, yes. So for this one, I've chosen Caterpillars of the Eastern Forest. It's by the Forest Health Technology Enterprise team. Here's my source. And then I took the book and I thumbed through it, and you can see I tabbed interesting, pages that I thought had great words and things. See, I highlighted them. And then after reviewing the entire book, I made notes. I'm still a person that likes to just write on paper with a pencil. Here's all the different words and phrases that I took out of the book that I liked. And I created this poem. I call it The Beautiful Wood Nymph. It's by Susan Post, and then I gave credit to the source. Horns, armored knobs, stinging spines, densely hairy and brightly colored, finely granulose, most formidable, wedged in crotches of trees and shrubs, from green to smoky black, reddish brown with snowflake spotting, beautiful wood nymph. All of these were just pieces of other descriptions of the caterpillars that were in this book. As I said, you can create it from anything. This was from, I believe, a New Year's Day News Gazette. Positive resolutions, start the year right, Illinois town, they've heard it all. Man steals roast, flees in golf cart. Russians glued to the TV adaptation, yet another golf cart course recognized as a great value. So yeah, just anything. Which brings me to your homework. Everybody received this in your packet. This happens to be, they have recently printed this, so this happens to be an older version that we had at the survey. And remember last time I gave you a little yellow Sharpie marker pen? So what you might want to do is go through it, go through your, and you can use your yellow highlighter to highlight phrases, sentences, things in here you might like, as I have done over here on this side. And I'd like you to create your own found poem. Here's mine from using the Thompson Lake Emiquon story. I call it Sky Parade. Swans, bustards, thrushes, geese, ducks, teal, take to the wings, string after string. Cranes, herons, water turkeys, coots, plover, snipe, the noise and fuss coming and going, one very bright, sunshiny day. So your homework will be to come next time with a found poem using your Emiquon Thompson Lake story. I would think this would be a very powerful piece then to put in your exhibit hall. If everybody, you have 30 of these showing different pieces and parts that everybody has used. I think it'd be a great description of this area. That's it. Because all your writing is going to be, it's either homework or out in the field today. Are there any questions? Yes.
In the found writing poem, every word is supposed to be a phrase.
Every word is from
From
word
this
or
source.
verbatim.
Right. No, can't add anything.
Okay.
Any other questions? Move this. Okay.
Okay, we're going to do one thing, and then we're going to go outside, and we're going to do some things. So, the first thing I want is I have an assignment sheet for you. Sunday was going to rain, so it's laminated. And on it, there's a photo group, there's a writing group, and then there's a sketching activity on here. Okay? I want you to go out and do this. And so I'm going to walk around and help you and watch you do things. So if you want to do, remember last time we said you can write it and sketch. You can sketch and photograph. Let's start to photograph and sketch. Kind of things. So you might want to go out and do part of it, come back, or take your camera, stick in your car, whatever, so that you're not trying to do too many things at once. We're going to do them outdoors. But before we do that, I have to show you one thing that I want you to do. And it's about integrating the way you think about things, plan things. And it's called creating a slide or a photograph. And everybody's going to get a sheet of drawing paper, and on it is a slide. Okay? Guess what you're going to do outside. We also have clipboards for everybody.
They have to turn the clipboards back.
You have to turn your clipboards, yeah. All right, so here's I'm probably the only person in history that has a stamp pad that has a slide on it. So, here's what you're getting. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pre-visualize a photograph. I want you to find a photograph you'd like to take, and I want you to make a sketch of the perfect photograph that you would take. For example, here's the, okay, use your composition frame, you know, or whatever you want to create a photograph using your pencil, color pencils. We have some color pencils if you don't have them. Or you can use black and white. Here's, oh man, that's a smoky photo I'd really like to take. If you want to do it in color, that's fine. Good color. Or if it's a vertical, yeah, that's a nice image. If you want to do it in color, that's fine. This helps you begin to see compositionally and photographically, so you'll need your composition, your frame we gave you last week, color pencil, a pencil, a clipboard, and this is Sue's handing out. We also brought the stamp pads and stuff if you want to do more. This will help you see things photographically, and it'll also help you translate what remember your vision always exceeds your ability. How do I take the photo that I just sketched out? And how do you do it? Okay? So here's some stuff from the other card, and you can write a little description on it, you know, what you did and so forth. Okay. Walk around, look, think. Remember, about 99% of all of this is mental. So it's about seeing, observing, thinking. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go outside for hopefully a couple of hours. I'd like you to do as much of that stuff on the sheet as you can. The last thing I want you to do is the sketchbook, which we got free of charge off the web, but it's the best thing I've seen on teaching someone to draw trees. There are some wonderful examples of trees out here. We were going to go up on the hill, but there's nothing up there except black flies. It's kind of yucky, so we're just going to walk out the door here. And what I want you to do is kind of circle the mode area here, okay? And I'll point out some of the things that I wanted you to do. And the first, for the metaphor simile, there are two objects, and we're going to provide you one object, and then you're going to find another object. Okay? And one of the, and I'm going to go out and put some flags around where I think are places where you ought to be concentrating. Hint, hint, hint. Okay? All right? So this whole thing is about taking what we've told you and trying to translate it into the field. Conditions for photography today are about as good as they're going to get. In Illinois, it's nice and overcast. It's relatively calm. So conditions for drawing, same. Writing, I guess the conditions for writing are always good. Yeah.
Where do you want to put this object?
Why don't you put it on the back table? The other thing I'd like you to do is I went through and I evaluated just very quickly what I thought your photos were. I think any photo above a 4 is acceptable. Here's the group of photos I got from one of my Rivers Corps people. I want you to go through and evaluate them also at some point.
With little stickies?
Yeah, with the little stickies. And you need to look at them carefully and apply what knowledge we talked about and see where they failed. And I guarantee you every one of them, I'll give you a hint, every one of them has failed. Okay?
And do we do the range like we did on the target?
0 through 6.
Okay.
Okay? 6 is perfect. 0 is, man, maybe you should have let the camera help. Okay, any questions about what we're, the object is on the back table, so don't all of you do it at once. I'll give you a little bit about what it is. It's an artifact that was given to the survey in the 1930s. So it's at least 100 years old that way, almost 80 years old. And then about 10 years ago, we had it carbon dated, because we thought, well, you know, it's 1,000 years old. And it came from an acidic seep in southern Illinois.
So this is one where expressive writing.
Yes, that's your beginning one. You can do that when you come back, when you go out, but. So you'll need sketching books. We have 4 boxes of colored pencils, which we'll put around outside if you don't have any. Everything else is on your own, so
But
just
clipboards are
take your
nice.
time, don't rush. This isn't a race to get everything done.
You can also use the watercolor pencils if you want the
You
watercolor
can take the watercolor pencils with you,
to use
you know,
outside.
whatever you want to do. 3:30. 3:30. Unless it starts pouring down rain, then
And I brought one of those. Well, I don't get my 35, can't find it close enough.
I brought an umbrella and stuff, but you don't need it, so we won't mess with the umbrella.
I've got it.